Yeah. You know, like this was a real person.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. But he was like, whoa. Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for showing up for our first Ask the Agent video. This is, I guess, our beta of this. Adil always seems to be my guinea pig for these. This is going to be a once-a-month session. Next month we'll have, I think, Rebecca, we're going to have Scott, and Fez, and Deborah, and Daniel, and whoever else I can think of to come up here and talk and share their knowledge and help us. Tony, he always hides in the corner.
Knowledge to share.
Yeah, it's something.
Tony's excellent.
You got pizzazz. Pizzazz.
Oh.
That's what you have. So Adil's gonna start off. He's gonna tell a story, what he did, how he got here, and that's gonna be open for question and answers. And we're trying to create engagement, even if it's other people in the room. If you have a question, I almost guarantee someone else has the same question. So especially for the newer people in here, if you're under 3 to 5 years, it's a great opportunity for you to ask, pick his brain, and see what he can do. Okay? So without that, we'll introduce Adil. He's going to be your man of the hour.
Thank you so much. This is my first time doing this, so I'm a bit nervous, but there are a lot of people I respect in this room and that have been in the brokerage longer than me that I tapped on, their shoulders when I first started. So it's an honor to be up here, and it's an honor to speak to all the colleagues I respect so much. Also, thank you to James and Susie for putting this on. I think we're at a really pivotal time in the market. I remember when I started in 2005, and then when we hit that kind of bump in the market in 2008, there's a lot of jitters. Even when I started in 2005, I remember the feeling in my stomach, whether I made the right decision. A lot of the new agents are probably, going through the same emotions. It's an amazing business. I've been in business now 14 years. I have zero regret. I think it's one of the best businesses in the world. I started when I was 23 years old, so I'm 37 years old now. I just turned 37. You always try to make yourself feel a bit younger as you get closer to 40. But it's been such a rewarding time, and there's been so many learnings in the business. So when I backtrack to 2005, when I first got in the industry, there wasn't a lot of businesses that you could get into that didn't require a ton of capital attention, right? And when I was younger, I felt like there was one skill that really came to me quickly and early was self-awareness. I think a lot of your success as entrepreneurs, as realtors, is predicated on understanding on what you're good at. I did my post-secondary education at SFU. I did my degree in economics. And I was an average student. I got through it probably with 3.0 GPA barely. And then I backtracked to the only A+ I got in post-secondary was personal selling. And the rest I kind of cruised through, or I tried to get through the economics part of things. But I really thrived when I made connections with people. I really thrived when not only did I have conversations, but I made meaningful, connections with folks. And that's what this business is about. It's about interactions and making meaningful connections which result in long-term relationships. If you capture that in the beginning and you have an authentic intention in how you want to operate, and you maintain a very strong kind of moral high ground in how you're going to run your business and what you're going to stand for, there is no reason why you shouldn't do exceptionally well in this business. And of course, to support that, you need a relentless and a very strong work ethic to succeed. So when I got into business in circa 2005, I remember I had a 1988 Nissan Pulsar. It was a white Pulsar with a navy blue interior. It had 2 roofs, which was kind of cool. I bought it from a friend. So I was putting myself through school, and I bought it for my friend for like $2,500. And I wanted to keep my costs down, and obviously I would have loved to drive an Integra Type R, and that was the car. But I was mindful of where my expenses and my dollars should go. I wanted to pay for my university education, And I was also studying for the real estate license, and I knew there needed some upfront capital to survive if you wanted to make it your first year. And so I drove that Nissan Pulsar for 2 years, and then I put it up on Craigslist because I needed something a little bit more presentable for my first year in the business. And I was telling my team this story. It got to a point with the Pulsar that the gas gauge stopped working. And so I had 3 jerry cans in my trunk because I never knew when I was going to run out of gas. I was always counting kilometers. And so I think it happened on every month, or at least 1 or 2 times where I ran out of gas. And I remember that, and I actually get goosebumps on my hand talking about it because we've come such a long way. I've come such a long way since then. But back to the whole notion of meaningful interactions and meaningful connections. I put the Pulsar on Craigslist. It's my first year in the business. And a gentleman inquired. I think I had 1 inquiry. It only takes 1 buyer, right? And so I met him. I remember the meeting at Coquitlam Center across from the Esso gas station on the corner of Barnett and Johnson. And we hit it off. The guy's name was Jason, probably similar demographic as myself. He lived in Vancouver, but his girlfriend at that time lived in like Abbotsford. And he had a beautiful convertible, and he didn't want to put kilometers on his car. So he's like, I just want, a runner, back and forth, something cheap, something inexpensive. Told him about all the, deficiencies of the car, and he still bought it. I made full disclosures, and he bought it. And then 6 months later, I get a call from him saying, we want to buy a place. And he knew I was just kind of getting into the business. I was green, I was fresh. It goes back to that meaningful interaction, that meaningful connection, and that authentic intention and really wanting to serve your clients. Since that interaction, I did about 15 or 16 deals with him and his family. In that 1 year, actually, just from when he bought his place, and then he introduced me to all his family members, we did 6 transactions. It made my year simply from, caring about and disclosing, and he was very appreciative of how that went and the connections we had. So again, every conversation counts. I can't stress that enough. I tell my team every day, whoever you're talking to, take that moment. They're the only person in the room. At open houses, wherever you are, in a social environment, really focus on making a meaningful connection with people, because you never know where that conversation is going to lead to. So that's 05. Finally started building my business between 05 and 07. And I started feeling some momentum. It was actually pretty exciting. And then the financial crisis hit. They call it the Great Recession of our time. And I didn't do a deal for 6 months. I moved back home with mom and dad. Thankfully, I had that as an option. And I started questioning myself. And at this point, confidence is an all-time low. I'm 26. Luckily, I had an economics degree. And I'm like, should I be working as a teller at a bank and making my $15 an hour? Or should I be going all in and being fully committed? So I took kind of a lackluster approach. At that point, I lost focus. And this is an acronym that has resonated with me for my entire 14 years in this business. If you write down the word focus, acronym to me stands for follow one course until successful. And I didn't have focus in the beginning. I was dabbling in stock markets. I was trying to find easy ways to do deals, and perhaps I wasn't as committed to the process as I should have been. And I lost the ability to audit myself, and I lost that bit of self-awareness. When money was coming in through transactions, it was misallocated. I had a lease payment that I shouldn't have had at the time, probably renting a place that was above my means. And I think that's one mistake a lot of juniors make in this industry, is when they get a big check, they want to spend it on the wrong things. And I think one of my learnings in the beginning was be very, very deliberate in how you're going to allocate your money in this industry, because there are going to be amazing months where everything is coming together, and there's going to be some really deep troughs and lows where you're going to be questioning where your next deal is going to come from. And so I think for the first 5-7 years, being very careful in your financial management is going to be imperative to your success and your sustainability in this environment, this marketplace. So I would say my turning point where like I had my aha light bulb moment was probably attributed to me getting married. It was that seminal moment in my life where it wasn't just about me anymore. I had more to my life. I had my significant other. And so in 2014, I think, yeah, it's been about 5 years now, we've been married. And I audited my finances, and I really got clear with my intentions of what I wanted from the business. I had a good business from the beginning, like 25, 30 transactions. I could pay the bills, still have a reasonable quality of life. But I wanted to have a great business. My good wasn't enough anymore, and I never wanted to settle for mediocrity in anything I did in my career. And so I got really focused. I got my intentions very clear, and I took massive action. So when you have clear intentions and you are committed to taking massive action in this business, I'm telling you, everyone will have exponential growth and success, right? It's really about a commitment to a work ethic. And so when I had that turning point in 2014, I got rid of my, $1,200 lease payment, and I went down to a $400 lease payment. I got rid of my $2,800 a month rent condo, and I went down to $1,800 a month condo. And now I was running lean and nimble, and I think that's really important because now it gave me some extra cash flow to invest back into the business. Right? I got coached. I got a coach at that point. I had gone to a negotiating seminar. It's called the CNE. Sue's coming does it, and I connected with her, and I, took her out for coffee after, and I said, Sue, I'd love to coach with you. I had done the Tom Ferry thing, and I just felt like, just due to geography, they're based in the States. While they have some amazing ideas, I just felt like they were a bit disconnected from the Canadian marketplace. And so I really like Sue's. I like her sophistication, her thinking. And I think the negotiating course, if you haven't taken it, is one of the best courses. It's called the CNE. She does it at the Grand Island Hotel, probably semi-annually, but it's an awesome course, and there's 3 stages. I took the master's level, and so I'm a master CNE. It's a Harvard-based course. I recommend it to everyone. And so I coached with her for 4 years, and she didn't necessarily push me on the prospecting, the door knocking. It was more of a mindset coach. I feel like in this business, your mindset is so imperative to running a good business. So you can easily get derailed very quickly. And so when I was having tough times and I was jumping on a coaching call with her, she would help me get refocused. When I had an amazing month where you're doing like 5 or 10 deals, that's peak performance. You're running at like a level 10. I want to maintain a level 10. How do I maintain a level 10? By not getting distracted, by staying focused and committed to the systems that helped me achieve that previous month. And so I felt coaching was an important part of me getting back on track. And so I coached with her for the last 5 years. So I went from 30 transactions, and I'll speak openly. I feel like we can do that in this room. Went from 30 transactions in my first year in coaching. I think coaching was part of the story. It wasn't the entire story. It was a combination of a confluence of factors that led to that growth. So I went from 25 to 30 to 60 transactions. And then, if you fast forward to last year, about 105. And then with the team, we started building the team. We did about 125, which is very exciting. I remember when I got into the business, there's probably the upper echelon of agents. Maybe I knew about 10 or 15 agents that, were like 7-figure agents. And you're like, wow, like that is almost like that. There's a glass ceiling. Like you can never get there, but you can get there. Really, it's very achievable with the right systems and processes. And so in 2018, I made a very clear decision on the direction I wanted to take my business. And for some of the more experienced agents in the business, in order to grow, you need scale and you need leverage. Those are the 2 most important things for growth in our business. How do you scale, right? So first question is, how do you do more deals? And so I moved away, and I think James is doing an amazing job of this. I don't print a single thing. My costs are so low running the business. When I meet my accountant at the end of the year, he's asking me to spend money because he's like, you're going to pay CRA, or you might as well invest back into your business. I don't think we printed a single item in 2018 other than feature sheets for our listings, which we all need. So costs on the marketing front were low, but I hired a digital media strategist who helped me create an online presence and a branding. And I think that that investment has already seen a tenfold return, whether it's just brand recognition or brand awareness, and now me building the team. So one was scale, right? Scale was do more deals, get more brand awareness and recognition, and create, a brand that the public resonates with. And so we did that. And in terms of increasing the transactions or dollar amount of your gross commissions a year, you either do more deals or you do more deals at you do deals at a higher price point, because then that's going to lead to a greater GCI. I wasn't very keen on entering the luxury segment because I felt like they're so volatile, like we're experiencing now. Like if you look at a West Van and North Van, those markets have been really demolished in the last year or two since the foreign buyer tax. And so my goal is to do more deals. Our average deal last year was 1.1 million. It's a great price point. We did some $4 million deals, but we did some $300,000 deals. And I take everything from there and in the middle. I like servicing that segment because one, it keeps me grounded. Two, it keeps me in tune to what's happening in every segment. I never said no to a deal, whether it was in the West Side or whether it was in Abbotsford. In the beginning, I took it for wherever it came from. And now I'm being a little bit more, I'm guarding my time a bit more because we have so much on the go. But in the beginning, you should really be opening to learning every single market, every single segment. The more you learn, the more you earn. And one of my coaches had told me that, and that kind of stuck with me. In the beginning, I was young when I started. So there's always that question about age and experience and track record, which I didn't have. And we always learn about leveraging the brokerage and using the brokerage's numbers. But I think one of the things that helped me kind of build a reasonably good foundation in the beginning was always learning. Like I wanted to be in tune to what was happening on a micro level, on a macro level, on a market, segment level, from condos to houses to townhouses. I wanted to know what was moving, what wasn't. And so when I was in meetings with potential clients or sophisticated investors, I would be able to articulate what was happening in the market and build confidence in those conversations and ultimately get more business, right? When you deal with some of these more sophisticated folks, it's all about adding value to the process. If they don't see you adding value to every discussion, email, conversation, they're going to go to the next broker. They're going to go to the next agent, right? They're very, very savvy and they're very, very limited with their time. So you have a short window to make an impact on those conversations. So I think that was important also, identifying people in my database that I felt could take me from X to Y. So I invested in people in my database. I went and I really kind of deep dove into clients that I knew that I perhaps wasn't investing enough time into, but had the ability and capacity to send me 10 deals a year. Right? I knew they had the network and the connection to do so. So I deep dove into my database, picked out probably 10 people that I really thought, one, I liked, and that we had a good relationship with, because you gotta like who you work with most of the time, right? And in the beginning, it doesn't really, you're not going to be as picky, but I took those clients, and whether I was investing with them in social time, taking them out, everyone likes to spend, go to the game or a new restaurant opening up in town. Be very, very cognizant of who those people are in your database, or who those potential people are in your database, and spend time and effort in engaging them. And you're not taking them out and asking them for business, because that's personally not how I work. It's really about getting to know what's important to them in their life. What are their personal goals, family, business, etc. And then eventually it segues into real estate. Naturally, they know what you do, right? You know what they do. You talk business. I feel like that was like another very important turning point of my business, is identifying who I was going to invest in. I think in this market, and our management team will tell you the same thing, it's really about leveraging the relationships we already have to get more business. It's easier that way too. They like you, they know you, they trust you, versus going out to the general public and investing in that. So investing in database, I thought, was very important. I thought that in 2018, I was also starting my wife and I decided to start a family. And I always wanted to be present as a father. And she's 8 months old now, and I would say, 4 out of every 7 evenings I'm home to give her a bath and put her into bed, right? Like the best thing ever, right? And when I miss it, there's a part of me that's, there's a void. And so my goal is to be there as much as I can for my daughter. I take Sundays off now. that's given me leverage, right? So we talked about scale, now we're talking about leverage. I brought Ferris on in January of 2018 and as a sales partner. And that allowed me to, I was getting more sales opportunities that I could personally handle well at the level I would like to handle them. And so I brought Ferris on to work with some of those buyers and some of those sellers. I'll give you an example. When Ferris adopted our systems and really took his work ethic, which was already quite good, to the next level, he went, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but he went from 4 transactions with Coldwell Banker to 20 the next year. So I'm not talking about 2 times growth, I'm talking about 5 times growth, okay? And that's because, like, literally from the training, from the dialogue and how you would engage, the body language, the energy you would bring to conversations, to the way you would respond to emails and how you would add value to every conversation, you know, that's meaningful growth. And he's gonna go from 20 to 40 this year, right? Yeah. And so the plan started materializing and evolving, which was really nice. And then we brought on a full-time administrator. Taylor's done an amazing job. She's our MVP. I always ask her at the end of every week, you're still coming back on Monday, right? She does a lot. She keeps everything afloat. And then we have a listing manager now who is looks after all our listings and does all the showings for listing. Where he's at right now, he's out doing showings with clients. So I would say that the business can be so fruitful, really. If you're in it for a lot of junior agents, that reach out to me and ask me about income, that's the wrong conversation. As soon as they start asking about income, I've got another call to get to, literally. Because I feel like the goal of every new agent, 1, should be to establish a very strong foundation. 1, of your skills, and 2, of an understanding of the marketplace. There's so much noise out there right now, right? Like, is the market going up? Is the market going down? Our job is to transact, right? I can't predict what the market's going to do tomorrow, let alone a year from now, right? Like, I think our goal is, this is the way I put it to our team is, I believe in Vancouver real estate. Whenever there's been an adjustment in our market, and there has been several, there's been 2008, there's been 2012, there's been 2016 foreign buyer tax, and now 2018, 2019, which is playing itself out. If you believe in the asset, like if you're in this room, I'm assuming you believe in Vancouver real estate, right? I hope you do. You need to believe in the asset you're selling. The best time to buy an asset that you believe in is when others don't believe in it, right? Simply put, Warren Buffett says, be brave when others are afraid. And people are afraid. They're uncertain. Is it going to go down another 10%? We can't sharpshoot a market bottom, nor a market top. And I've got personal stories of myself selling real estate, and then the gentleman buying it from me and selling it for 50% more within 12 months. Like, I can't sharpshoot it, and I'm on the front line in the trenches every day. How can anyone else, right? And so I think gaining, 1, market knowledge and understanding what markets are doing. I'm going to go on a limb and say, if we're not at a bottom, we're very close to a bottom in the market right now. And so being able to articulate some of these facts to potential buyers and sellers at opens and networking events when you're engaging clients is very important, right? Do you believe in Vancouver real estate? Yes. I don't think anyone would come out and say no. Personally, long-term data points always indicate to a stronger market, in the medium to long-term horizon. And it's such an incredible asset class that I believe that 10 years from now, people are going to look back and say, oh, do you remember that blip where we saw 25% discounts in North Vancouver? That's when we should have bought, right? When assets hit price points below replacement, you can't replace it for that if you did it yourself today. That's, a buy indicator, in my opinion. I went on the limb and I bought a place in February. And it felt very uncomfortable. I had written an offer in October on the property. They were asking 1.5, and I had written an offer for 1.2. Felt it was worth 1.25. They came back at 1.35, and I said it's too much for the location, and so we let it go. The agent, fast forward, 3-4 months, the agent calls me in February. He said, circumstances have changed, bring back that offer. And I said, the market's changed. You know, I can't bring back that offer. And so she said, Adil, and I said, we're not in the position, like my mindset wasn't there. I was just focusing on building the business. I wasn't really interested in investing into another house. And I started thinking, I'm like, if I get this at enough of a discount where I feel comfortable from where it was at its peak, I deep dove into like market data from like 5 years in this market. She calls me back. She's like, Adil, just try an offer. So I tell my wife, I'm like, we're just going to submit it. They're not going to accept it. They accepted it. And I'm like, I told my wife, they weren't supposed to. So they signed it back, and I was nervous. Like I remember our Monday morning meeting with the team, and I'm like, I don't know what I just did, but like I feel really uncomfortable. The time to buy something is when you're uncomfortable. Right? When you're not sure if it's the right decision, when everyone's jumping in and you have that herd mentality, is probably when we're getting closer to the market peak. In hindsight now, it's only 60 days, but I feel like that was the bottom. I've seen 3-4 trades that traded a bit higher. I feel comfortable that even if it went down 5 or 7% from here, we're very close, because I got a 25% discount to what this asset was trading for less than 12 months ago. To me, that's a buy opportunity, right? And so I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak. And so when I'm out in the front line talking to my clients, I'm telling them like, yeah, like I bought real estate. I believe in this market. And it doesn't have to be a personal experience. It could be someone you know or a family. My sister recently transacted as well. So those are the conversations I'm having. And I feel like if you really want to set yourself apart in this environment, is you need to be able to have those kind of next level discussions with your clients, your buyers, your sellers. I feel like sellers are finally getting the notion of the market's just, you're not going to get what your neighbor got 12 months ago. And they're seeing their neighbors trade or transact at a new price point, and it's now becoming a reality. And I'm seeing the premium markets in North Vancouver and West Van start moving again. When those markets start moving, of course, at new price points, I think that to me tells me we're getting very close to a period where the market's hitting kind of a soft landing or a landing point where we probably don't see a V-shaped inflection where prices start rising again, but more trades equals more confidence in the market. More sold signs, people are seeing that now, will result in more confidence in people getting out there and buying again. So that's my kind of take on the market. I think that what I do in my business, the one thing that I encourage always my team to do is be very genuine in every discussion you have with clients. I'm not after the deal, to be quite honest. The deal is a byproduct of everything else we do to get the client. And if clients feel that your interaction is genuine, and I'm assuming, I know a lot of agents in this room, and that's the way we've all operated, but sometimes we lose track of that, because the deals are fewer, they're more challenging, we want to get them to the finish line. So I think we can't lose track of, one, how we built our business, and two, what's going to get us to the next level. So today's main objective is really a Q&A. I wanted to touch on a little bit of the history of kind of how I built my business, the direction we're going in, but I really want to help you guys in any way, shape, or form. My goal is, if I can impart one or two things as a takeaway for you guys to implement back into your business to help you be more successful in this changing environment, hopefully getting one step closer to achieving that goal. So if you have any questions about my business or about the market or things that you might be working on or struggling with, I'm happy to address them.
There you go. Suze Cummings, one biggest takeaway or best piece of advice that she gave you over the last 4 years of coaching you said you did for there?
Yeah, so I coached with her for 2 years, and then I moved to a team coach last year, 3 years, then I coached. That's a good question. So there was points in my business where I felt like we were operating at such a high level, but I wasn't able to sustain it, right? Like we would hit those 10 or 12 deal months, and it feels amazing. Then the next month I would do 2. And I was trying to figure out why that was happening, right? Is that just the natural cycle of the deal flow? Is that a change in something that I was doing? Is that just because I was burnt out after doing 10 or 12 deals? And so I started creating a morning routine for myself, and actually also a evening routine. I work a lot, and that's just part of who I am. It's part of my DNA. Even when I'm not working, I feel like I should be working. Like, it's kind of weird, but in that growth period where we went from 30 to 80 or 88, I sacrificed a lot, and I think, like, I can't sugarcoat it. Like, you're gonna have to compromise if you sacrifice something, if you want to take your business to the next level. 14-hour days, normal. I was up at 5, responding to emails. I wanted to make sure that they felt I was on top of everything, right? And that's just the commitment I had at that point in my career. I still have that same commitment, it's just different now. I've got support around me to address some of those things. So the biggest thing I took away is creating a morning routine. The first thing, and this is the worst thing I do all the time, is I just pick up my phone all the time. Right? The phone's next to me. Now the phone charges away from me. When I come home I try to be home at 6 usually. If I go to an evening appointment, I'm home between 6 and 7:30 to be with my daughter. My phone's in my car. I leave my phone in my car deliberately. I need a break because I was burning out, and I think that's normal. Like, we only have so much gas in the tank, and when you get to a certain point, you want to be able to take a step back, take a breather before you get right back into it. So for me, it was mindset, but learning kind of the day-to-day routine and how I can manage it in a more comfortable manner. I love her blogs. If you don't, she's really smart. Like, I think she's got a mathematics degree, but her analytical sense is very strong. It's something I never saw in other coaches. She's not just sales oriented. She never like held my hand and said, go make 10 calls or go out there and door knock. She wasn't that type of coach. She was more of an advisor.
Right. So it helps you get in the right mind state rather than give you a checklist of tasks for the week that you had to report on.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. I think that answers your question.
Yeah.
Your first 3 years, what did you do for prospecting? What worked? What didn't work?
Good question. Okay, so 05 to 07, we went through a condo boom in Vancouver. It was probably the greatest condominium run I think we had seen in 30 years. We saw all these towers popping up everywhere. The waterfront along the Concord Pacific, the Olympic lands was all getting developed. And then the whole notion of vertical living was coming to the forefront. And so I got really educated on that. And I was tapping into a few people that I knew were investing in those types of projects. It's a bit of speculation. There's an interesting story about that. So in 07, I started. You could talk about a building in Vancouver to Surrey, and I would tell you, how many units in the building, in that project launch, when it was going to launch, when it was going to be completed, who the developer was, what the track record was. Like, I had an intrinsic understanding of every project, and so those clients, those 3 clients maybe led to like 25 deals in that 1 year, and all their network, right? And that in 07, I did 58 transactions. Right? That was crazy. I was like 26 years old, and I'm like, this is insane. And then in the year after, I did like 14 or 13, right? So talk about that big change. So to answer your question, Ollie, I would say, again, an arsenal of knowledge. Okay, like, know what's happening out there. Like today, the Bank of Canada held rates. Why did they hold rates? Right? Growth forecasts look bleak. Probably gonna hold rates for the next 6 to 12 months, but talk about that, right? All he knows, he's tapped in. Right? They want to know about these things, and they want to know, like, you're not going to be able to predict the market. None of us can, right? But you should be able to articulate your position on where things are going, how things have unfolded in the past. If history repeats itself, where Benjamin Tall from RBC stated this, like, you have RBC, all the big banks now, they're lobbying. You could tell Benjamin Tall was on the news last week and on News 1130s. They're lobbying to remove these stress tests. That's a hot topic right now, right? Are they going to scale that back to 1%? Are they going to make it non-existent for people with the gross debt servicing ratio less than 32%, which is the magic number for loans? Like, I don't have an answer as to which direction they go in, but you should be able to have these types of discussions with people. It builds confidence, and when they feel like you're on top of things, they're going to be more inclined to want to work with you.
Because there's a lot of agents out there who are hungry for business, right? How do you stand out? So I think I was young, right? So load yourself with lots of knowledge, one. To be very quick to respond. The response time should be less than 5 minutes too. Like if you're new, like literally a lead, an email, 5 minutes. There should be no reason why you're not responding in 5 minutes, right? There was a research done by MIT. They said if you did not respond to that email or that lead in 5 minutes, I think the average time for a realtor or a salesperson to get back to that lead was almost a day. The lead's gone, right? So how bad do you want it? That's the other thing. Do you have that drive and that hunger to really set yourself apart from the other agents? You need to have that fire in this market. That's what's going to set you apart. Okay.
You had mentioned investing in database. Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we all know call your database quarterly. I don't call my database quarterly. I should, but I'm investing in more like. So I got one client. Told my team the story. This is actually a good story for the new agents. They found me on a kiosk board 12 years ago. Yeah. Since then, I've probably gone on to do 60 sales with them. Yeah. I'm in a kiosk board, and it was a loading mall kiosk board for a condo I had for sale in 2005 or 6. And I just stayed in touch with them. We were chatting about 6 months ago. And I'm always in touch with them regularly. You know, our calls go for an hour. Like I'll drop everything just to have one call with them. Right? Whenever he calls, I drop everything. And he's one of my, I would say, top 10 clients. But in passing, in one of the calls, he said him and his wife were celebrating a 10-year anniversary, and casually asked them where they were going. And as soon as I got off the phone with him, I called my assistant at that time, and I said, call the restaurant and take care of the bill. Right? Really nice restaurant that went downtown. I had totally forgotten we did that. Right? I think it was like fast forward a month later, like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, and I missed like 5 calls from them. Like, what's going on? Like, what did I do wrong? And I get a text message from him saying, we are so lucky to have people like you in our life. Covering the bill was the best anniversary gift ever. So like, the bill was like $400 or $500, right? They call me the next morning. I called them obviously right after. Like the wife is very emotional. It's their 10-year anniversary. Like it's their 10-year anniversary and they're calling me. So like things like that. It's so, but like I forgot about it. I just wanted them to have a good evening and I wanted it to be on us. Like that's what you do for your best clients. And even if it's not your best client at that time, but they have the capacity or potential to be a really strong referral base, I'd much rather invest $500 in that individual than go out and aimlessly send a mailer out for $500 and then, you know, have it be thrown in the garbage. You know, it's like, I almost feel like mailers now, it's like money, it's like throwing money in the fireplace. It vanishes quickly and it doesn't give you the ROI. I mean, I think some of the things that James is doing, like the YouTube ads and the Facebook stuff, like that's intriguing. Like one lead from $7 spent online. Like if you don't have a substantial amount of your budget allocated to digital media, you're way behind. So that's what I would say. That's just one example. But you know, you get really great tickets to the game. Go have a couple beers, whatever it is. Like I do that. I'm very, very deliberate about how I do it and who I do it with. Yeah.
A lot of your business seems to come from your sphere of influence, people that you've known from the past. To find new client base, your lead generation. Obviously, you do by referral for a lot of your business, but is there other systems that you use to bring new leads and potential clients on board?
So last year, 88% of our business was repeat referral. So like I feel like we've figured that aspect of it out, and like we run a very simple business, almost to a point where I feel like we should be doing more, but we don't have a lot of other prospecting methods. What I've got is the team to do certain things. Like if you're a new agent, like you should be doing 2 open houses every Saturday. Get face-to-face contact with people. People are coming in to see a home that you have hosted open. Like what else should you be doing with your time as a new realtor wanting to succeed in this business, right? First, we'll do 4 open houses between Saturday and Sunday. I don't think he's taking a weekend off in 6 months, right? I'm not saying everyone has to do that, but like that's the work ethic you need to have to survive in this business. He did 20 deals last year. I want to say 10 came from open houses, right? And we're even doing Thursday opens now. Why not mix it up, right? 5 to 7.
Or during the day? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, 5 to 7. We have a bottle of wine, red, white. Open up a bottle with someone who walks through, engage in a conversation. It takes one client, right? Like I think there was one open, we had one buyer through, and potential, like, and there's a possibility of us doing a deal with them, right? So to me, it's not necessarily about the number of people coming through. It's about, again, meaningful interactions and connections. Like when I feel like I'm connecting with someone at an open house, no one else matters in that room, to be quite honest. I'm respectful of other people coming in through the open house, but I'm like, they feel like they're the only person in that room, right? And now when I do open, it's really to feed the team. My goal isn't to bring on more buyers for myself. It's really to keep the brand alive, our team brand alive, and give the guys some more business. So yeah, being creative in this market too. 5 to 7 is kind of cool too because you have the neighbors that pop by. It's a lot of that's neighbors, but they're like you have really good FaceTime with them. Right, so. Yeah.
As you're growing, like, how do you know what works there? So, like, I heard you say, like, you've got like a listing manager. How do you know to do that?
Like, I'm still figuring it out. Like, I'm a year into the whole team thing, so like, I tell my team, like, tell me if I can do something better, because I still don't know the right model. I'm still trying to figure that out, and so I just felt like I wanted to provide an amazing level of service for every single client, and just because I'm growing, that shouldn't mean that changes, right? And so I brought on a salaried listing manager, right? He's like a licensed assistant technically. He doesn't do business yet, but eventually will, and takes care of every call that comes in. Like I believe that no property should be on the logbooks. Like that's been my model from the beginning, no matter how busy I got, right? And it obviously got challenging, given the scale and the growth. But I believe I can add value to that buyer's agent who comes from Vancouver who doesn't know Coquitlam. I can tell them about the cards. I can tell them why being north of Boston is better than being south of Boston, right? Or being east of Blue Mountain or west of Blue Mountain. Like that type of stuff, no one has that knowledge when they're coming from out of area. And so if you can influence, that's part of our job, is to persuade and influence. Not just our sellers, but the buyer's agents that are coming through, right? And so understanding persuasion principles is very important, and I've done some research and some education on that. I took an NLP course, neuro-linguistic programming, which was very helpful in how you ask questions and how you engage with people. So I think that for us, the listing manager, it makes sense. It's salaried plus a bit of a bonus, and there's good potential there because it's someone who wants to eventually segue into sales. They're learning the business, right? They're being that initial contact for that seller, right? They know they can contact anyone at any time. They can pick up the phone.
And like for your paperwork, do you do your own? Like, do you do the paperwork? Like, are you going after working with a? Sorry, I guess that's not anymore. Forms or
Taylor can answer that. My paperwork is terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. I've probably stopped being paid out on 3 deals, from the last 3 months because they're winning on FinTrax. But like, there's gaps in my business. I still get it. Paperwork is not a strong suit. For most high I salespeople, if you do your disc analysis, we're shitty at that kind of stuff, right? And so again, bringing on an amazing admin is very important to fill those gaps and make sure that aspect of things is taken.
And for the training of your admin that you bring in, and the people you bring in, are using like the ROP booklet that we've got that kind of says here's what you should expect out of your.
Yeah, like so we haven't used that, but like what I've been fortunate enough is previous assistants have come back to train the new assistants. They left amicably, right? So I think that's been, and then Taylor's just very quick to learn things, which has been good. And it's been helpful.
another one. You clearly have a lot of listings coming on the market. How do you juggle all your open houses? Like, and how long do you run them for? Like in the beginning, and do you stop running them? At a certain point if the client doesn't want to do a price reduction? And how do you know that?
It's a balancing act. When you stop doing the opens on a client that's not being, accommodating, or he's not adjusting to the marketplace, you don't want them to feel like you lost interest in their listing. Right? That's the last thing you want from the client. And so, what did we have last week? 12 open houses over the long weekend. Yeah. So we had 12 open houses this past weekend. And so the way we manage it is obviously there's only myself, Ferris, and Jamil who can do the open houses. We have other agents in the office that have helped us. It's very good, being supportive. And so my system with open houses is, I think the launch weekend is still very important. Like, we've sold a couple properties in 7 days on market, right, in the last 2 weeks. So I believe in doing open houses Saturday, Sunday, launch weekend, and every other weekend, 1 day a week. One, because it shows the client you're still engaged in their property. And two, the reality is, and I tell my clients this very openly, is that we pick up leads from open houses. And it's a great way for Ferris and Jamil to bring back leads to the team, or to feed themselves. And open houses are the best prospecting tool in this market, because you get face-to-face quality time, and get an opportunity to sense people's energy and body language, and how they're vibing with you and stuff like that. I think that's so important. If I was a new agent, I'd be doing open houses every Saturday, Sunday, double headers, and every Thursday.
I liked when you said that 88% of your business came from your sphere of influence last year. How much of that, obviously you track it. How much in your business do you track, I guess is what I'm asking.
Probably not enough. What I do track is where our business is coming from. Again, we know 88% that's referral based or repeat. We track geography and where we're doing our business. And I've actually been more deliberate about where we're doing business lately, because time has become increasingly more valuable. And I'm guarding my time a little bit more, so I'm being very particular about certain listings where we take. So before, in my first 5 years, or even 10 years, I would say, I would take the business everywhere. So now the metric we're using is, I would say that 65% of my business is in the Tri-Cities, and then 35% is spread. We, like with Ferris numbers, we meet monthly and quarterly to figure out where his business is coming from. Open houses has been a very strong suit for Ferris. He's very charismatic. And he's got the height as an icebreaker.
Chicks dig it.
Yeah, chicks dig it.
I kind of do too, Ferris.
We don't I think there's more we can do from a metric standpoint to track. We have really simple spreadsheets. We have a CRM that we use in the back end. Again, really simple, right? Nothing overly sophisticated. I think if we take this from, and the goal is to take this from 120 to 200, we're going to need more systems, because I'm still very much so dialed in, right? Like every open house update at 4:30 that I get, I'm communicating it to clients, right? I'm that contact point, and I'm on these guys if they're like 10 minutes late. Where's my update, right? I want to have all my updates out to clients, because I know I'm going to get a call after those updates. Get no one show up at your open house, and that's happening, right? Depending on the area. Some are getting like 15, some are getting none. It's like really an interesting marketplace to transact in. So letting your clients know you're always engaged and on top of things. So like every listing you have, you should know if there's a competitive listing that's come on before the client knows. Right? You should know if there's a sold. Like we have searches set up for every listing we have for surrounding competitive listings, right? Like I have a listing on Bergmount, which is challenging to move, but I knew when I listed it, there was 15 competing listings. Now there's 24 competing listings, right? Obviously, why is it selling? Well, we're just blending in amongst 24 other listings priced under $800,000. You get that information over to your clients before they're sharing with you. It shows that you're dialed in, right? That you care. We had pictures for this home that Taylor just came from it, where there was snow on the ground still. Like that can't be. We're not. That season's long past. we took pictures, right? So like, I think it's those type of things. Your property's taking time, but we're not losing interest. We're still very much so committed. I'm invested already in this listing, right? We don't get compensated until we see it to the end. So I'm as fully committed as I am the day I took the listing as I am today. And they need to feel that. Even if you're not, they need to feel it.
How often would you say with a client that you're currently actively working with, that you do contact them on a daily, weekly? How often do you feel like you do talk to them?
Probably more than I'd like to be quite honest. Like, I'd love to scale that back to once a week. You know, like everyone talks updates on Friday, but like you do a showing, and they're like, how was the showing?
Yeah.
And I'm always like, if there's something material, you'll hear from us. But we're in that environment where just people are a little nervous and they want to know what's happening, what's the feedback. So we're pretty much.
So formally once a week you try to, but over the course of the
It's all the time. Yeah, it's all the time. Like if they haven't had a showing in 2 weeks and you show it, they don't want to wait, like on Monday, they don't want to wait till Friday to know what that buyer is. Like, let's just be realistic on what happens and what you would want to, as a seller, the potential seller, and how you want to be updated on the progress of the listing.
I think you partially answered the question, but my question was going to be, where do you spend money on your business? And you said digital media. Could you delve a little bit deeper into what you mean by digital media and what you do online? And
yeah, for sure.
Kind of what happens there?
Yeah. Okay. So I made a big investment this year on a new website, which we're really proud of. It took
looks good. Seen it.
Thank you.
Love it.
Yeah. It was a big investment, and for me, probably 3-4 years ago, I would have thought several times over before making that kind of investment. But we want to stand out in this marketplace. I think people need to look at this environment as an opportunity than a challenge. Every challenge is an opportunity. There are a lot of agents who are going to not have the tools to succeed in this market, right? That's the reality. I think the number this brokerage was, we have 230 agents amongst 3 brokerages, and I think 130 did not do a transaction. Right? So you have 60% of our brokerage base or agent base that didn't do a deal. So you got to see if that continues. Like, what's that going to do to the other agents that are out there? So I think that we can actually carve out a bigger market share if we're committed to this environment. Because if you're willing to work hard and you're willing to do things at a very, I always say level 10. That's the way I want to operate always with my team, our interactions with our clients, our buyers, our agents. We're actually, we're busier now than we were last year. Like, we're year over year, we're higher than we were in 2018. So my school of thought is, if I can maintain what I did last year, I'm actually gaining market share, right? The reality is, if we do 120 again this year as a team, we're actually ahead of where we were last year, because we're in a shittier market this year, right? Like, people are transacting 30% or 40% less than what they did last year. So if we maintain it, which we're on track to, we're on track to exceed it actually. We're carving out more market share.
You're ahead of the pack.
Yeah, people are going to seek out the skilled practitioners in this environment. Our service becomes more and more valuable in this environment than it did before. Okay. Yeah.
So, in your real estate career from the beginning till now, what would you say are things you might regret doing or not doing?
Yeah.
Or
I think about that actually. I feel like I could have gotten here in half the time, and that's one regret. It's kind of all over the place in the first 5-7 years. And I don't think that's uncommon. Like, you're just trying to figure it out. I was young, like 22, 23. I was trying to make a quick dollar, right? And I invested in penny stocks in the beginning. The bank. I did junior mining stocks for 7 years. I thought I was going to hit my big win. Because some of these stocks go up 10, 20 fold, or they go to zero. So that was a very expensive learning experience for me. I would get a mentorship early, because mentorship would give me a really clear pathway to succeed. Like, if you're going to align yourself with someone who's done really well, you would work for them for free. Like, literally, I would work for them for free for the first 2 years. If they wanted me to bring them coffee, or they wanted me, if I could just be around that individual, I would have done it. it was interesting for me because I was in school my first 4 years. I was still trying to finish my degree part-time. So it was hard for me to take on that type of role. And so I was doing my solo thing. But if you have the ability to work with someone who's experienced, you're gonna get like, and someone who truly has a business, is not just, you know, I think that you can get on a growth trajectory much quicker, right? Like I feel like when I really got serious about this business 5 years ago, it changed like my life, right? Really, literally changed my life. And so I feel like instead of 10, I feel like I've been full time really for 10 years. I could have got there 5 years ago. I was really, really focused and committed and surrounded myself with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mentorship is key, whether it's a coach or someone you align yourself up in the office. And we've got amazing, like I feel like what James is doing, what Susie's doing, like this, right? Like is so immensely valuable. I don't remember having this, one. Two, I don't remember being able to go onto YouTube 10 years ago and go onto a Tom Ferry video and learn how to, or, you know, a Royal LePage video and learn how to put up a YouTube ad. Like that wasn't an option or an avenue we could leverage then, but it is now. I feel like you can grow faster in this environment than you could have 10 years ago. Just everything is online. You know, this is, you know, your phone is life's remote control. Right? If you're not popping up on Facebook or YouTube, everyone else is cruising. They spend so much of their wake time on social. Right? If you're not being, you know, if you're not at the forefront of those platforms, you're probably already behind. Yeah.
Adil, I just wanted to know if, what database management system do you use? I've used Top Producer since it was on disk.
Yeah. Yeah.
For hiring students, then they get clients, but not online. But what do you use?
So we used Exact for a while, which we didn't quite like, but they've revamped their entire platform. I'm using the one that Hafez created. It's called the Realtor Connected and the Connected Realtor. I'm not sure if it's, I don't think there's a lot of agents on it. We're not even utilizing the full extent of it. I think what I like about having some sort of database management in place is, or some sort of CRM, is our workflows, because you get a listing and there should be 14 steps of things you need to do. And that should be auto-populated into your calendar so nothing goes missed. Like if my assistant wasn't there for 2 weeks and I had someone else step in, it shouldn't be difficult to catch on to some of those tasks, the straightforward tasks. So yeah, basic things. So it could be a lot more sophisticated. Again, like I'm probably a step behind on my, you know, using some sort of, I have constant contact, which we communicate with clients on a monthly basis usually, or there's updates that we want to send our clients. That's the way I stay in touch usually, is either through social media, through constant contact, or jump into a call.
Okay. Oh, one more. Yeah.
I find in this market, you think you price something really well, really sharply.
Yes.
It has to be. And then, you know, I have clients now after 2 weeks going, you think we should do a price reduction? And like, there's no stats that anything's selling or anything to go by. So how patient are you in the market with doing price reductions and stuff in this exact market?
Yeah. I don't like to move quickly. I don't like to move too quickly, especially if the data is suggesting that you're actually priced well.
Yeah.
Some homes have really surprised me where it's a product, a location, well priced, and they're not selling. I like to move usually within 3 to 4 weeks if I'm not getting a signal that someone's, you know, showing some serious interest in a property. So I do an activity report for my clients on a monthly basis, which talks about where we marketed, how many people have viewed it, the feedback, and they know this, but it's a summary, it's a monthly summary. And then I have a call with them or a meeting or a coffee. Now I try to do calls more, but if I need a price reduction, I'm getting FaceTime. And like these are the data points. You have two options. We either maintain status quo or we be proactive, right? This is what the market's telling us. But like again, you can't move too quickly because things are not, the average days on market's quite a bit higher now.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like some of the younger agents are getting jittery when it's not sold quickly, but like 2 months in the market, 3 months in the market is kind of the norm now, right? I am seeing more, I'm seeing a flight to quality. Like we do some new construction, and so like in north of Hastings, there's an area called Vancouver Heights, which is a Burnaby pocket. We just sold a home in 7 days, highest selling price of 2019, and it was 2 million plus GST. The last sale was 1,765 for a comparable home, inferior location, and I had another buyer lined up to wait in line to see if the first offer didn't go through. So there is a move towards quality locations. That's what's going to sell first, in my opinion. And I am seeing more calls on certain listings. Like we've got, I think, 21 or 22 right now, with a few more coming on this week. And there's some that are great locations but haven't been finished right, or like, I feel like you need to create the perfect product, even if it's resell. Like you can't give any reason to that buyer not to move, right? On that listing. So if it's priced right, it shows well. Like I call it my 3Ps: price, presentation, promotion. If it's marketed well, if it's priced right, and it's presented well, it has to sell.
Yeah.
Right? So that's my simple formula I use with clients, the 3Ps, simplify it for them. And if one of those is out of whack, if it's not showing well, and that's the feedback we're getting, there's a reason why we're not selling, right? Staging consult with every listing, I think that's the baseline standard now. You should include that. It's going to help you. It's going to help your clients. You know, they all feel like they probably have a good understanding of what needs to be done because of everything that's accessible online or on each GTV. But having someone create a detailed list for them to prepare the home, coming from a third-party professional versus yourself, like I can tell them what a stager's going to tell them. It's nicer when it comes from the stager who does it full-time versus the deal is maybe being, being not offensive, but like it's just easier, I think, for them to hear it from a professional. So yeah, I think it's an interesting marketplace. Some stuff's moving, some stuff's not. But as long as you align those three things, it should sell. Like we had a tougher March, but our April we just took off. So we've had a great month. I'm hoping that momentum continues. We listed another home actually. Got an offer 3 days on market, brand new, higher price point than the last sale. We're still working on the deal, but it's nice to see the interest level coming back. More sold signs again leads to more confidence. I think more confidence will ultimately lead to more transactions and more deals for our clients.
I agree. I totally agree with you because I've been working with a lot of buyers and I'm phoning and they're saying, oh, it's sold. So the best stuff is sold. Out of 7, there's 2 that are really good. And they're sold. So I'm like, the market's picking up. But I think it's just exactly that. It's the good stuff that's selling. Yeah.
And if you look at, and we created this this chart, if you look at the last 3 months, we actually saw a bottom in sales in November. Each month, year over year is improving. So sales are actually trending down. Like year over year in November 2018, November 2017, you saw a 48.5% reduction in sales from the year before. December to December, you saw like 39, and now we're seeing 34.5. So we're actually trending a bit higher. I think if we see year over year change around 30%, we're in a good market. Because we were arguably in a very overheated market in some segments last year. So I think it's a good market transacting if you're a buyer and you can communicate the value to your buyers, that why it's important to buy undervalued assets when other people, stuff you believe in when other people don't believe. It's like the retail dialogue or conversation is like, if you're going to buy a BMW and you loved it at 80 grand or 60 grand, and now it's on sale for 40. Nothing's changed. It's still the same vehicle. Wouldn't you be ecstatic to buy it at a 30% discount? Right? So, like simplifying the conversation, right? Giving them a retail perspective. There's one thing I like, I'm going to mention this, is in this business, and I think I learned this probably 4 years ago and also led to some growth. Your income is a direct correlation to the value you bring to the market. The more value you bring to your investors, the more value you bring to your first-time buyers by sifting through all the stuff that's out there, finding that diamond in the rough and getting them that deal, or calling those homes that are on the market 110 days and sellers are getting, the agents telling you the sellers getting seller's fatigue and they're just open offers now, whereas before they were being rigid on their listing price, just bring me an offer, right? There is that happening where the seller's like, and I'm having this conversation, which is really odd. Oh, I'm not going to reduce my price, but bring me an offer, right? How is that agent supposed to communicate that to the marketplace, right? Usually it's through a price reduction. You visually see it and you see meaningful change. So that agent is now motivated. The sellers are motivated. So I think as a buyer's agent in this market, you should be calling those listings that have been in the market 120, 150 days that are sitting stale and saying, what's happening with your seller? Agents will talk openly, like they're frustrated, right? We had a couple offers, they didn't come together, whatever the situation is, but they're showing more motivation. Those are the type of deals you need to find for your clients in this market, because they'll be like, oh yeah, Scott went the extra mile, right? Scott found something that the other guy I was gonna work with probably couldn't. So that's the first thing. I think we need to ask more about, don't ask for more from clients until you actually deliver value to them. So ask for what more you can do for them to earn their business and their family's business, right? I tell the new guys all the time, I'm like, be honest with you guys. I have tremendous goals this year and I want to help you and I want to help your family and whatever it takes, I want to be your direct contact for anything real estate related. You have to ask and you have to be a little more assertive. We've never taken an aggressive approach where, we like to deliver the data and the stats and have the client come around, but we've been encouraging more sales. We've been encouraging clients to take certain deals where we know that if they don't take that deal today, they're probably not going to see that number again, right? Like I had a client who just sold a home for $200,000 less than what they were in it for. That's a very tough trade to be part of, right? 3 one-hour conference calls, analyzing the environment, the market. These guys are sophisticated. They took the deal because I confidently felt if they didn't, that buyer would go buy something else where every seller is pulling out the red carpet and saying, come write an offer on our home, right? Also finding areas that are on deep discounts to where they were year over year and talking about them. And going and doing a YouTube video and saying, did you know that Burnaby North is 25% less than what it was a year ago? Or do you know that North Vancouver, you're buying at 2015 prices? Because you are. Every seller in Edgemont right now is selling at or below replacement. So, do we have those buyers? Some of us do, some of us don't. But it's just engaging people, giving them something of value, right? Whether that's a video to your database or something on YouTube or Facebook. Staying at the forefront of their social media feed is going to be very important. Yeah. No.
So you said things are selling below replacement. So if you look at the housing market, do you see a lot of projects actually building that?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Yeah, so you said a lot of things are selling below replacement.
Yeah.
So do you see a lot of condo markets, these projects holding that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think the smaller builders the developers are seeing some financing struggles. Like the biggest issue in this market is access to capital. And the pre-sale requirements, the banks are tightening up. There's always a minimum pre-sale requirement for every developer. And the banks are actually making those pre-sale requirements higher for the smaller developers that may only have 1 or 2 projects under their belt. Because everyone became a multifamily developer in the last 3 years, right? Everyone tried to become a multifamily developer in the last 3 years. And so to answer your question, yes, because there's 2 things. 1, access to money is tougher. And 2, the development cost charges at the city, municipal level, like Port Moody just increased their DCC, their development cost charges, and their community charges by 50%. So performers are changing. The escalation in construction costs are creating this unfortunate perfect storm for developers who haven't secured contracts on construction to scale back. I think Town Line actually held their project in Burquitlam because DCCs went up, the cost to construct a high-rise is substantially more, so they just shelved the project. Remember all the registrants getting a note saying, unfortunately, due to 1, 2, and 3, we've put a pause on the project, and we're probably not going to bring it to market in this cycle until the market improves, right? So, yeah, good question. I think that's like just what the first-time buyer or the buyer moving up, trying to get money, trying to get financing. Even when I bought my place, we had to put more money down because we had the banks. The first lender was a little bit tighter. Right? You have enough on the books, and so we went to a credit union. I think Van City is really good for borrowers right now. Canadian Western Bank is really good. I think looking at the credit unions that don't have the stress test, because not all of them have to follow the OSFI requirements. So being creative for your first-time buyers is important too. If they can't get money, can you help them source a lender that does? Yeah.
Yeah, to add on to that, I think a lot of credit unions are insured, so that's why they are able to not do this with 2%.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the opportunity when you're working with, you're probably working with a lot of first-time buyers. That's something you should be stressing to them. If they can get access, or they can't get approved at the amount they want to get approved at, then visiting a credit union might be a good option.
Okay, awesome. We're at our hour here. So, thank you, Adil.
Thank you.
For your time.
Pleasure.